4:40 p.m. That's when I reached Saty, a small village that would be my base for the coming days. I'm not gonna do any kind of recaps here since everything is already mentioned in my day 2 video. So, after paying the driver in cash, I went in to check in. I had already informed the guest house owner Noora about my arrival time. She's usually not around herself, instead she had assistants here who take care of the guests. I found this Marlin guest house through a vlogger's channel. I got the contact details from their channel and reached out to the owner on WhatsApp about 2 weeks just before my travel. After some negotiations, I confirmed a room with an attached bathroom for 10,000 tenge per night and including breakfast. Dinner was available at an extra cost for 3,000 tenge, but it had to be informed in advance. This guest house isn't listed on Airbnb or booking.com, so the arrangement was based on the trust. I didn't pay anything in advance, even though I was willing. There wasn't any option available to. I also contacted several other guest houses through WhatsApp to compare the price. Most were super expensive, so for a private room with an attached bathroom, prices usually start around 15,000 tenge, and during peak season they go even higher. Let me show you around the guest house. Right after the main entrance, they recently built 2 new rooms with a separate bathrooms outside. All other rooms are pretty similar, usually 3 to 4 beds per room, each with an attached bathroom except for these 2 new ones. One thing I noticed right away in Sati was the number of flies. They were literally everywhere, inside, outside, around the food, almost like a constant fly attack. Maybe it was just the season, but either way, just be prepared for it. This is the dining area and that's the kitchen. The assistants who help run this place stay in this side of the room. This is my messy room. It also has 3 beds. Here's the type of socket used in Kazakhstan. There's no fan or AC here, only windows for ventilation. This is my portable travel bidet charging. So if you have watched my day 2 video, you'll already know why this is very important. And there's also a heater provided here and of course an attached bathroom inside the bedroom. My choice to stay here in Sati was quite different from what the majority of travelers do. Many travelers book day 2s or overnight packages from Almaty, which usually cost between 10 to 20,000 tenge. I didn't choose this option because these tours are chaotic. You spend most of the days on the road with only 1 or 2 short breaks, and the actual time given at each location is far too little. The whole trip ends up feeling like as if you're in a time pressure capsule. If your goal is just to click a photo and then say, "Hey, I've been here," then maybe it works. But if you want to actually experience these places, then booking a package from Almaty is pointless. That's why staying in Sati made more sense to me. The lakes are closer, the travel time is shorter, and I could explore everything without being rushed. Unlike these rushed packages, here I had the whole evening free to just stroll around and discover the place. So around 6 p.m. it was still bright since the sun hadn't set yet. So I used that time to figure out my commute for tomorrow to either Kolsai or Kaindy. As I walked, I heard the sound of this running water and I followed it, and I found this beautiful roadside water stream, and the kids here told me that it was the Lake river. This river actually connects to the Kolsai river on the opposite side of the village. Standing there with the chill weather and the calmness of the stream, you really get the first taste of how peaceful this place is actually, compared to Almaty, the city side. There are about 2 to 3 small supermarkets here around the main roads, run by locals. They usually open in the morning, then close around 12 or 1 for a few hours in the afternoon, and then reopen again by 4 or 5. But honestly, the timing depends on their mood. And don't expect supermarkets like in Almaty city. There are no price tags here, and sometimes they inflate the prices if they know you're a tourist. So it's one of those unavoidable disadvantages of a tourism village. If you're staying here for 2 or 3 days just like me, it's better to either bring your essentials from Almaty or at least remember how much you paid the first time so you'll know if the price changes later. Sati has become more commercial after being named one of the best tourism villages in the world in 2023 by the UNWTO. Anyways, I'll talk more about the price inflation here in my upcoming videos. Around 6:30 in the evening from the main road, there were a lot of Scooby-Doo vans passing by. I literally stopped a few of them and started asking for tomorrow's rides to the lake. The communication wasn't easy even with Google Translate. Sometimes the local's voice doesn't get recognized, so I always switched to typing and translating it into Russian or Kazakh. I had downloaded both keyboards in advance, which really helped. After a long back and forth, I finally agreed with one driver for 6,000 tenge per person, a two-way trip, pick up and drop to Kaindy and back to the main road in Sati. I got his number, and with that my plan for tomorrow was fixed. If you're traveling here on your own and want to explore the lakes, there are a few ways to do it. One is hitchhiking, which is quite common. Another one is to go to the entrance of the Saty village in the morning, where you'll find plenty of shared marsutkas and Scooby-Doo vans to bargain with. And the third option is what I did. Just stop the passing vans on the road and ask directly. Not the most conventional way, but it worked for me. By 7:30, the village started getting darker, so I went back to my homestay and waited for the dinner. I had already informed in advance and paid 3,000 tenge per person for the dinner. Usually guest houses here charges about 2,000 to 2,500 tenge per person, but here they are just charging me 3,000, I don't know. But I wanted to try it once and see if it's worth it. So for dinner, I just got this steamed pumpkin and meat mante, 5 pieces with some condiments. No complaints about the taste. I actually love mante, so it was a good end to the evening. Or at least that's what I thought. By late night, the assistants here set up a small campfire for the kids, since they weren't allowed at the adult campfire party organized outside somewhere in the open. The main campfire is usually arranged by these tour operators for all their guests, so people from different guest houses gather there. But even from a distance, you can actually hear the music and shouting echoes across the whole village. The kids' campfire went on till midnight with them screaming and running around. Honestly, with all that combined, it was really hard to fall asleep. So by around 3 a.m., the weather turned colder too. Thunder rolled in and a little rain started falling, and it quickly got colder. And yes, by that time I was still awake. Partly because of the noise, partly because of the commotion with the new tour groups checking in late night. So it wasn't exactly a peaceful night for me. Today, it is officially day 3. I went to the dining room for the breakfast that was included along with my stay. According to the owner, it should have been simple but filling breakfast, which includes fresh breads, condiments like butter and biscuits and all, and also a main dish like a porridge or eggs. Now, I really don't have any actual footage of this part I'm gonna talk about, so whatever useless shots I had lying around, I'll just put them in while I talk. The tour group who had checked in last night was already sitting there in the dining room with their camera gears, vlogging around, and this is where I noticed the bias. The staff service was clearly camera biased. They were extra attentive and generous in front of the group's camera, smiling and giggling, placing 3 baskets of breads and spreads right within their reach while I'm sitting there and none were placed next to me. I kept waiting, thinking maybe they would bring over one, but it never happened. And by the time the entire group finished and left, what I got was basically their leftovers. I'm not a picky person and I usually adjust a lot when I travel. But this was way too obvious. So I texted the owner Noora on WhatsApp, explained what happened and also requested a quieter room since the noise last night was unbearable. She was very understanding and promised to take care of it. So, after finishing my so called breakfast, which was literally just 2 eggs and a hot water for me to make my own coffee, nothing else, I called the driver I had spoken to yesterday evening. We reconfirmed the plan via WhatsApp and I got ready to head out to Kaindy Lake today. At 9:30, I climbed into this Scooby-Doo van. Unfortunately, the only seat left was the very last one at the back, and with these roads, oh my god. I was literally bouncing from top to bottom, measuring the van with every single jump. The road to Kaindy starts just besides the entrance of Saty village. So along with me was a South Korean family plus the driver. So 7 of us in total. In about 5 minutes, we reached the ticket gate for Kolsai Lakes National Park. I paid 535 tenge, and here's how the pricing actually works. So tickets are 500 per person plus 250 for the van, which is split between 7 of us. So it came to roughly about 535 each. This one ticket actually covers the whole national park, both Kaindy Lake and the Kolsai Lakes. So make sure you keep the receipt safe. Rangers may ask to see it again when you visit Kolsai, and there's always a chance you may be overcharged. So check the board, do the math, and confirm you get the receipt. From that gate onwards, the road goes from bad to worse. Sedans are fine for reaching Sati, but don't even think about taking one to this Kaindy place. It's impossible. You need these old Soviet vans, which I call the Scooby-Doo vans, but even then the ride is tough. Pregnant women, elderly people, or anyone with back problems, it's going to be super tough. And if you're stuck in the last seat like me, then you're done, finished. So if you also get this motion sickness easily, take your tablets before this ride. After about half an hour of this bone-shaking journey, we reached the first stop. From there, another Scooby-Doo van takes you closer to Kaindy Lake. At this stop, they even had a toilet, 100 tenge per person, and they hand out tissues right at the counter. And because this was a shared trip, we were given a time limit. Be back by 11:30. I mean, it's just 1.5 hours to explore Kaindy. Honestly, if it was just me, I would have stayed longer. So anyways, I decided for tomorrow's Kolsai day, I am not gonna repeat the system. I'd rather hitchhike. There are a few Scooby-Doo vans that keep going up and down from the first stop, dropping people closer to Kaindy for 500 tenge per person one way. So if you prefer walking, you could do that too. It's just a 5-minute ride to the drop point. There are washrooms here too, and from this point, the walk to Kaindy begins. There's also a small pond at this stop. If I had more time, I would have explored it, but since I didn't, I just headed straight to the walk towards Kaindy. It takes about 10 minutes at a normal speed, but the path is steep. Some paths slope down, others slope back up in between. On the video, it doesn't really show how steep it actually is, but it is steep, though still manageable. If you're coming to Kaindy or Kolsai, make sure you wear proper shoes with a good grip for this walk, because the pebbles on this road path make it slippery and harder to walk on. After a few minutes of tiring uphill and downhill, you'll come to a set of steps built from stacked wooden logs, uneven in height with a few gaps and no handrails in places. So be careful here, especially if it's wet or during the snow. I'm not physically fit or active, so I had already prepared myself, both mind and heart, that this climb back would be tough for me. After about 10 minutes of descending, I finally reached the lake viewpoint. Honestly, I wasn't too impressed when I reached this lake. It was just too crowded. Beautiful, but crowded. With all the commotion around, I couldn't really enjoy the view or even stand quietly to take it in. I spent maybe half an hour trying to capture some decent video shots, but it wasn't easy with so many people everywhere. It was really suffocating to see this much of crowd, and I even started feeling a bit nauseous. And right now, even seeing this video makes me feel nauseous. Literally no space to enjoy the lake. The viewpoints were swamped. Well, I did my best to show you the lake, but actually forget showing you. It was even difficult for me to catch a glimpse of the lake view itself. But with this crowd, you're mostly just getting a people watching experience. Anyways, so I decided to head back up the trail after seeing this much crowd. I just took a few shots which I've already shared. So yeah, it's a 15 minutes walk uphill and definitely not easy. I skipped the uneven wooden steps and took the plain slope instead. Stairs would have been impossible for me. My legs would have given up halfway. The slope was better but still steep, and within minutes I started gasping for breath. At one point, I was literally waddling uphill like a duck, just to keep my balance. Once I got back to the pickup point, Scooby-Doo vans were passing every 5 to 10 minutes, so I decided to ride back instead of walking and paid another 500 tenge for the return to the first stop. As we were approaching the first stop, it started drizzling. The weather here today wasn't too cold overall, but whenever you get close to water bodies like the ponds or the lakes, it feels a lot cooler. Some people may find it perfectly fine while others might struggle. So it really depends on the person. That's why it's always better to check the weather forecast in advance and pack your clothes accordingly to your itinerary rather than assuming it will be the same throughout. On the ride back to Sati, I moved to the front seat, which gave me a much better view of the road conditions. And honestly, this is where you really see why small cars can't make it here. The path is uneven, filled with loose rocks, sudden dips and sharp curves. When it rains even a little, the mud makes it even more challenging. Watching the driver handle it was super impressive. He knew exactly where to slow down and when to swerve around a rock and when to power through a slope. It's definitely a skill that comes only from driving these routes regularly. About these vans, they are old Soviet models, and to be honest, just looking at them, you would think that they are ready to break down any second. But out here, they are still running strong. They are super noisy, they shake like crazy and all, but they are tough. Tough enough to survive these mountain roads. So, if you're planning to visit Kaindy or Kolsai, don't even think about taking a sedan or a small rental car. Either hire one of these vans or arrange transport through the locals. It's the only way you'll make it safely. So, I got dropped back at the main road of Sati and paid the driver in cash as discussed. By then it was around 12:15 and suddenly the rain turned heavy. I tried to take shelter under a tree beside the stream, but that's when the cold really started to set in. It felt strange actually, my trip to this Kaindy Lake, which was already done even before noon. I had an entire day still left, but with this rain pouring down, all I could do is just stand here, half drenched, taking in the beauty of this village of course and thinking about what to do next. Okay, since you're here watching till the very end, respect for your patience by the way. But now tell me honestly in the comments, was this Kaindy trip really worth all that trouble?